Hello, my name is Cindy Flores. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I've been trained in mindfulness-based stress reduction. I have been asked to do this series in this difficult time of the COVID-19 pandemic to introduce mindfulness as a tool for dealing with these uncertain times. And that will be the topic for this discussion, is mindfulness in times of uncertainty. Because even though we've never gone through something like this on such a global level, individuals and groups of people have had times in their life of great uncertainty, and so this is useful beyond even this difficult period of time. This series has been brought to you as a collaboration of Whitehorse Village and Friends Life Care Partners. For those of you who have seen previous sessions, you might have a better understanding of what mindfulness is, and I'd like to take a moment for those who are just watching this video for the first time of explaining a little bit about mindfulness. Mindfulness is a state of being. It's a common household word these days, and people tend to think that mindfulness equals meditation or yoga. Those are tools towards mindfulness. Just like working out on a treadmill or taking a walk are tools of physical health. But mindfulness is really a way of living in all periods of life, not just when you're doing these exercises. But studies have shown that doing these exercises and having a mindful practice of a few minutes a day at least actually develops the brain in a way that your brain helps you get back to a state of calm when things around you are perhaps uncertain or tumultuous. And we certainly are experiencing those times right now. As I said, many people have experienced uncertainty in their lives. And for some of us, those times have been what we call the dark night of the soul. This has been written about for decades. The dark night of the soul is when one day everything in your life changes. When you wake up and you go, nothing that I thought was safe and secure is as it was the day before. And I know about this because in April of 2015, just 5 years ago, my husband had a massive stroke. And I knew that day life had changed. It had changed for us financially. I knew it had changed for us in his health. I didn't know what he would recover as far as physical and mental abilities. It changed our relationship. It changed everything. And those were really difficult times, just like we're going through now. A sense of, how do I begin again? What is new normal? How can I be at peace with these circumstances? And so even when you're going along in life and you think you know what the schedule is going to look like, you think you know how things are going to go, the truth of the matter is we really don't know. We can hope, we can pray, we can hold hopefulness, confidence, but the reality is we just don't know what's coming day to day. All we have is this present moment. And that's exactly what mindfulness says, is be in this moment. Be appreciative and as well as you can be in this moment, because nothing beyond this moment is promised. And once you string a lot of mindfulness moments together, you have this inner peace, because most of our moments really are peaceful, really are safe. It's only when we let our minds run backwards in time or forwards, ruminate over things that happened to us that were unfair in the past, or worry about tomorrow. Those are the only times, typically, that our nervous system, the fight or flight system, is really activated and activated for a prolonged time. However, in this unique time, it is true for all of us that our fight or flight system it's called our sympathetic nervous system, has been activated for weeks now. Most of it due to uncertainty. Even day to day, the rules change, whether we should go leave our houses, how we should leave our houses, where we can and can't go. All of this changes day to day. And so our parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation nervous system, is not being given a chance to renew us, because it's like our sympathetic system, it's like someone's put the foot down on the gas pedal in neutral, and it's just running, running, running. And over time, that will burn out the motor. Mindfulness, even just deep breathing, can actually activate the parasympathetic, the relaxation system, and can start to quench that fight or flight that's within us now. And so that's my intention today, is just to give you a little background on mindfulness and how to possibly utilize it, and then to do an exercise that will hopefully ground you. If you're not familiar with the term grounding, what that means is that you have a sense of being so that you can make good decisions, solve problems in a state of calm, rather than just running around making very reactive decisions. And if ever we needed to be grounded, it's in a time like this. So a couple weeks ago, actually it's probably less than 2 weeks ago, I was watching an interview of someone named Charles Eisenstein. I had never seen him before, and this interview had taken place in July of 2017. So it was almost 3 years ago. And he was being interviewed about a book that he wrote called The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. And there was a quote in this book that really got my attention, and I know to be true from my own dark night of the soul. And that quote is, "Profound change only happens through collapse." And I know that's how it feels right now. Everything we thought was secure and we were certain of just feels like it's being renewed. Like we don't have a solid footing right now. And we don't have confidence that everything that was stable a month ago will be stable when we pull through this. And yet, what he is saying in his book, and what others who have experienced when their lives change so completely, is that if you are very mindful about the choices you make, if you stay very grounded in what you do, that you not only come through the experience, but you actually come through it in a state of mind, in a state of being that's actually better. That actually being face to face with the potential of fear of unknown actually makes you stronger and more capable of dealing with future stressors. Now, we hope we never have to face something like this again. We hope there's never anything so global that's affecting everyone at one time. But what I know about life is there will be people who still go through great loss and change in sudden ways. And so I am offering these tools today for us on an individual basis as well as more of a collective basis. If you've seen previous sessions, then you know that I am choosing at least one attitudinal foundation each session. There are 7 main attitudinal foundations in mindfulness-based stress reduction. And so I've chosen at least one, and the one, actually 2 for today, are non-judgment and trust. And the reason that I chose those are because we are really needing to trust the process, to trust that even though each day feels new, the guidelines we're given seem to change. If we live in a state of non-judgment, and that doesn't mean you don't have a perspective on this or an opinion, it means that you stay open. You stay open to the unknown. You stay open to trusting that those who are in control will make good judgments as they have information, and that those of us who have this information will make the best use of that. Those of us who have experienced an upheaval of our lives know with confidence that even though it takes time, that when we approach life in this fashion, that we come through it, we look back, we take a deep exhale, like, wow, we made it through. And then we move forward with a new confidence, with a new faith in ourselves, with a new faith in life, with a sense that we can get through anything. And so I'm encouraging you in this moment to start to develop that part of the brain. And we know through mindful practice that parts of the brain do get strengthened. Just like with exercise, muscles get stronger. And the parts of the brain that get stronger through a mindful practice, a daily mindful practice of 8 weeks even, can show measurable change. The parts of the brain that are measured to and grow are those of decision making, problem solving, peace, joy, and empathy. And we need all of those right now. We need people collectively to develop those qualities. And so the focus for today is to put aside judgment, to not focus on perhaps inaccurate guidance that we received a week ago. That may be true, but holding on to that does not serve us well now. That we need to trust that within ourselves, there is a core strength, an inner wisdom that we can draw on in these times of uncertainty. So, what I'd like to do for today is a guided meditation that is actually thousands of years old. It's called the mountain meditation. But I think that it's so appropriate in this time because it's ever changing. But we need to know that even though the outside is changing, there's a core of constants. So, for those of you who are familiar with mindfulness, you understand the importance of deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. For those of you who might be watching this session first and haven't had the background in mindfulness or haven't done yoga or Tai Chi in the past, I just want to take a moment to review what that looks like. So, deep breathing is when you take a deep breath in. Usually, you're instructed to take the breath in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. But if that's difficult for you, I'm going to ask you to suspend that judgment and just breathe in the best way you know how. So you take a deep breath in, filling the lungs, and a slow exhale. Do that again, please. Take a deep breath in. You'll feel the belly push out on the in-breath and contract on the exhale. Just doing that for like a minute can really change your state of mind and your state of being. And I encourage you to practice that on a daily basis, just doing that deep breathing. And studies have shown that that activates the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve activates the relaxation response. And it starts to shut down fight or flight. And if any of you are not familiar with fight or flight, that's the state of being where we feel like we need to run away or we need to battle our problems. And sometimes that's not appropriate. How do you run away from the pandemic? How do you battle it? There's just no physical way In fact, what we're being asked to do is to stay still. So fight or flight will not serve you in this time. Going within and being still will. So for this practice, I ask you to start with deep breathing. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. If that doesn't feel right for you, just divert your eyes and have a gentle gaze downward during this exercise. So take a few deep breaths in, filling the lungs, and exhale out. Allowing in this time the mind to settle and the body to relax. And in your mind's eye, in that place where you have imagination, I invite you to picture the most beautiful mountain, perhaps one that you've seen in real life, or maybe it's one of your imagination. One whose form really speaks to you personally. See the shape of the mountain, its highest peak, the overhangs. Notice how massive it is. And as you run your eyes down the mountain and you see the base, see how wide it is, how unmoving, how grounded, how unique. Mountain. However that image appears to you, simply sit and breathe with the image of the mountain and observe its qualities. Perhaps view it from a little closer range to see if there are trees and foliage on the mountain. Perhaps there are streams, or perhaps you notice that there are animals on your mountain. Maybe there's snow at the peak of your mountain. And when you are ready, in your mind's eye, allow the image of this mountain to be one with your being, so that the peak of the mountain is the top of your head, that your shoulders are part of the lofty sides of the mountain, and your feet are grounded like the base of the mountain. Become still, centered, rooted, an unmoving presence. And in the night, mountain is mountain. And in the day, mountain simply is. Through those long, lush days of summer, when the trees are leaved and the flowers are in bloom, mountain is mountain. And many beings may live with mountain, and the clear waters flow. And then the days become shorter, and the angle of the sun is lower in the sky. And the nights become crisper, and the trees put on their brilliant coats of autumn. And yet, mountain remains mountain. And the nights get longer, and the days get shorter. The trees drop their leaves, getting ready for the snows of winter, and the snows do come. Some of them are gentle, and some are deep and fierce. And through it all, mountain is mountain. And even when the wind is howling and the tree limbs are tossed in the fierceness of the storms, and all the beings are tucked away and wait for the storms to pass, and the storms do pass, mountain is mountain. And in time, the sun becomes higher in the sky, and the branches start to bud, and everything starts to green. And the beings on mountain either return or become more active. And spring arrives. And if the waters have frozen through the winter, they melt and they start to flow once again. And through it all, mountain remains mountain. Through all of those seasons, mountain has stayed calm and rooted on the inside and stable, even though the outside, the external part, has gone through many changes, some which have been difficult and some which have been more desirable. But through it all, mountain remains mountain. You are like mountain. You've gone through many seasons in life. Some are very desirable, and you'd like to just have them stay. Others you want to push away. You want them to go quickly. But even through those storms of life, you have this strong core that's rooted and grounded in you. It's a source of strength. Just like mountain, you can weather the storms. Now I invite you to release the image of the mountain so that you are just sitting here and have released that image. But I encourage you to continue to hold within that sense of mountain, that sense of groundedness and confidence that enables you to know that no matter what happens externally, you will get through it. That changes are temporary. Now come back to the breath and take a deep breath in, filling your lungs, and a slow, deep exhale. And continue for 3 more breaths like that, breathing in deeply and letting out the exhale. And when you've completed the 3rd exhale, you may open your eyes. And I invite you to now look within. Notice what you're feeling within your body. Perhaps you're feeling a little more rooted, and that is described by some people as feeling more like heavier in the chair, or the feet may feel more connected to the floor. If you're feeling any of those, that's a sign of being grounded. And you can return to this moment at any time. You don't have to have this exact script. to feel rooted. You can come back to the breath, and you can feel the floor in contact with your feet, supporting your feet. You can even allow your feet to have roots and have in your imagination roots growing from the bottom of your feet that actually secure into the ground as far as you can take those roots. That is another way to feel grounded. Because one thing we know and one thing we cannot argue is that we are in a time of uncertainty, a time of challenge, but we're doing it together, even if we're all doing it sort of isolated from each other. And studies have shown that if we do it as a group, we actually create more groundedness for the earth, that we actually create a sense of peace for those outside of our doors. So when time allows, maybe we'll do this in person, or we'll do it as a group in another session, just like we did now, with the intention of sending it out to others who perhaps are not practicing mindfulness. But I encourage you, until we meet again at the next session, to practice being grounded, or at a minimum, just taking a few deep breaths, being in the present moment and knowing that in this present moment, you are safe and secure. I thank you for being with me. And until next time, I say goodbye.